Okay.
It's on.
It's on? Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thank you, Zach. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Louis Trujillo,
Present.
Councilor David Romero,
Here?
Councilor Elaine Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilor Michael Montoya,
Present.
Councilor David Ujibari Jr.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have a quorum.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Romero?
We could have a moment of silence for all those that we've lost in our community, and also for those that are sick and those that may have contracted COVID. We keep them in our prayers. And also that we continue to work for our community and do what's in the best interest of everybody.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda.
Mayor, make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero. Second, please.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Montoya. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, next item on the agenda is public input. I do have one public input, but it is for one of our items on the agenda, one of the ordinances, so I will read it at that time during that item.
Okay.
Therefore, we'll go to mayor's appointments, reports, recognitions, and proclamations. The first item is appointments to the following boards, commissions, advisory boards, and committees. And we have a list of the Film Commission, Lodging Tax Board, Design and Review Board, Board of Adjustment and Planning and Zoning Commission, Utility Advisory Committee, KAB Advisory Committee, Senior Center Advisory Committee, Tree Board, Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, Airport Board, Library Board, Museum Board, Finance Commission, Fiesta Advisory Board, and Police Advisory Board.
Thank you. Do we need a motion for approval?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Approving them all together.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion for approval of the committees with one change.
Yes, ma'am.
To the police advisory, Mary Howland is representing Ward 3 and not 2.
Thank you. Second?
Mr. Mayor, in that case, then, would we need a person from Ward 2? Do we want to have?
I'm not sure if that other person is from Ward 2, they just
Probably.
got the numbers wrong.
Is already here?
Miranda's here.
Can we call her in and ask her? Thank you. Hi, Loretta. Welcome.
Hello.
So we had a question on the Police Advisory Committee, if there was anyone from Ward 2 present on that committee.
There isn't. I did not know that she was in Ward 2, that she was in Ward 3. But we
Okay.
can use it, we can have it as pending, and we can bring forth a new name,
Okay.
and then we can just approve them in the future. There are 2, I think, that are pending for approvals, so we
Okay.
can bring those up to you later.
Mr. Mayor, I also have questions on the Finance Commission. I know we have Councilor Rodriguez on there, but in talking with Loretta, I think that's just because we need a person from Ward 3, is that correct?
Well, they did ask her if she was interested
Yeah.
in being there. And we can actually add to the commissions and the boards in the future. We just have to bring the names to you for approval.
Also, she'll sit on the board. You'll sit on the board?
Yeah, and I asked them if that was a conflict since I'm a resident in the Ward 3, but I'm also a city council person. So I asked them if that was going to be a problem. They said they didn't think so. So I was going to sit on that.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Maybe it's a question for legal and he'll find out, but are we supposed to have discussions before a second has been made?
No,
Okay, is there a second? Has a second been made?
I asked for a second.
So the most discussion should be done till after the
Right.
second has been.
Anybody second the
A
motion?
second.
Second the motion by Mr. Romero. Discussion, please. Thank you. So, yeah, I understand that it's okay for a council person to sit on committees, but they will sit as a ex officio member. Okay?
And that's fine, I just wanted to get more familiar with the finance process purposes, so I can be a non-voting.
Okay, and is that something new, Mr. Mayor? Because the last time I served as the chairman of the utility committees and the chairman as the finance committee. So is that something new that has changed throughout the years?
Mr.
The
Lee?
the charter, and this came up when I was appointed to the Charter Review Committee. I couldn't sit on that board except as a non-voting member because I was an employee of the city. Councilwoman Rodriguez, being an employee of the city, can't sit as a voting member on that board, but can sit in a non-voting capacity.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's new to us. Also, Mr. Mayor, my intentions were the day you came in that I would also like to serve on the finance committee.
That's fine.
And then you also asked me a while back if I'd be on the airport committee. But I did relocate my name. It's on the very top of the list because of the page being broken up.
Okay.
But I did have another question though. So where are we on all the rest of the committees? Are they all running, up and running, or we're doing this a piece at a time, or is this the last list till 2 years from now, or?
I understand that this will be the standing list,
Okay.
and that the committees will be up and running.
So we won't have a youth commission?
Yes, we will,
We
I'm
will?
sorry.
Okay. And are we gonna have a ETZ zone commission?
ETZ zone, we've always have, I don't know.
Yeah, because that's what, if I may, Mr. City Attorney, isn't that one of the requirements of the governing body through the city charter?
Well, after looking at the city charter, I'd have to go back and refresh my memory, but I don't think the ETZ was a standing committee. What was the other one that you mentioned?
The youth commission?
Youth?
Yes.
Neither one of those were listed in the charter as a standing committee. That doesn't mean that we can't put them together and get something going on them, but I don't believe that they were a permanent standing committee listed in the charter.
Okay, Mr. Mayor. And the other one is the Ethics Board Commission. That is on the charter, if you might recall, Mr. Attorney. Is that one, I noticed on the last listing that we got, there were 5 members on that board. Now, is that going to be renewed, or can we redo that tonight, or what's the status on that, on those 3?
Yeah, my understanding on the ethics one, the youth and the ETZ they weren't permanent boards under the charter, but that doesn't mean we can't get them rolling. We can if that's the desire of the council. The ethics board, my understanding is, I had talked to a couple of the counselors about just getting names for those. I haven't talked to all you guys, so I'm still waiting on some names for that. That one's in the works, but it's not set to be confirmed tonight because we don't have all of the names of the prospective committee members.
So what's wrong with the 5 that were there? And it's Dan Ortiz, Kim Delgado, Mike Crow, Teresa Bustos, and Marty Sweeney.
I don't know what the issue is and the status of the standing group. My understanding was they hadn't met in a while, so one of the things we wanted to do was get an understanding whether those people are willing or able to serve still. And then, once we figure out who's willing and able to serve, if there's vacancies, get names from the different wards so we can try to get that put back together again. That's my understanding what the status of that is.
Okay, because according to the city charter, we need to abide by that.
Well,
So-
that doesn't mean that we can't do this at a later date either. We can bring names to that, and introduce the members to the council at that time, correct?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Mayor.
Montero. Mr.
And just to add to that comment on the campaign and ethics board is that one procedure that has to be done is the bylaws and kind of the direction that this governing body has to set forth to them before we just kind of name names. So I don't know,
Yep.
maybe,
And that was a discussion earlier when Mr. Baca brought it up, was that we didn't have a framework for that committee yet. As soon as we get that framework and the members, we will proceed with naming a ethics commission.
One last thing, Mr. Mayor, on these commissions and committees, before I lose my chain of thought. Loretta, I believe, needs to follow up on this as to what members are going to be the 2-year members and what members are going to be the 4-year members. Because they run in cycles like the mayor and council does. And she needs to get a listing, and that way we don't get the same people for 10, 12 years on there.
I agree.
Yes.
The other thing I would check is that the Charter Commission look at that as well. I think it's too much confusion in whether they want to serve for the term of 2 years or the term of the mayor or whatever, but I think it's just too confusing that we have 2-year members and 4-year members, so we'll look at that too.
And the last thing is I would recommend is that you notify all these commissions and boards that they do have to report to the mayor and council once a year. That's one of their things on the charter, is that they have to come before us and give us a full report as to what activities they're having and what they're doing, or they're not doing, or whatever it might be. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Mayor.
Mayor, and not to add. The other thing is, because we are an entity and these boards and commissions will fall under the OMA, so the important thing is make sure that the minutes are being followed, agendas presented, that they're just not meeting, because we have to, I mean, if somebody were to, look into it, or do a records request, that these things have to be made, just so we don't violate them. Am I right, Cassandra?
Yes, you're right.
City Councilor, yes, what we're going to do is meet with directors that oversee these departments, and we're going to go over those types of rules so that they're clear, and we make sure that we don't get any complaints
And if,
to the minutes being late or the agenda's not being published on time.
and not only that, but if we could just standardize the reporting in the minutes, that way everyone is following the same minutes. And we did have a request to see if, I know this would take a lot of time to read the names of each committee, so I'll just go ahead and forego that. It'll be on the record, on public record, and on the agenda, correct? Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, does that motion include adding Councilor Montoya to the minutes?
Yes, it does. And thank you for wanting to serve, both of you. I appreciate that. So, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Loretta. Thank you for your work.
Mayor, next item on the agenda is council reports.
Anybody? No councilors report? We'll move
Mr.
on.
Mayor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Matei?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was waiting for Councilman Romero.
Go ahead. Thank you.
But, I'd just like to take this moment, Mr. Mayor and Council. I would like to thank our senior senator from New Mexico, Mr. Tom Udall, for his years of service to New Mexico. Amongst many of the tasks that he worked on were preserving and protecting our precious land throughout New Mexico for generations to enjoy in the future. And just to name a few, the Sabinoso Wilderness, the Ojitos Frios Wilderness, Valles Canderas Wilderness, Cañón Largo, and many more. He was a trooper in Washington. He tried bringing people together for a common goal, fighting for voting rights for all, against tax cuts for the wealthy, and many other causes. I just want to note that City of Las Vegas welcomes you at any time, Senator, and thank you for all your hard work. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The other item I have is the city manager and myself met with representatives from Espanilla with the RTD Transportation Center, and If there's no objection with mayor and council, we designated an area at the Valencia parking lot behind the Bridge Street area for the bus stop, because it wasn't feasible for them to park around the Plaza Park because of the size of the bus and accessibility to handicap and the construction's coming up in the near future and all that stuff. This is something that the city manager and the mayor was contacted about, and they jumped into it to help Mora to bring a bus from Cleveland and stopping in Holman and stopping in Mora, stopping at the clinic, stopping in San Pedro, stopping at Walmart, stopping at Alta Vista Hospital, stopping at Luna Community College, stopping at the Plaza, well now the Valencia Street, and finally at the transportation depot on Railroad Avenue. These guys will have a designated parking everywhere they go. They'll be signed. It's up to them to stripe it and sign it. The city manager is in compliance, is in agreements also with these two locations here, and so is the transportation department. They are going to have runs every Tuesday and Thursday, and 2 runs a day. And for now, there's just going to be 4 persons on the bus, I guess including, or 5 with the driver. And if it demands more, a bigger bus down the road, they'll deal with that at that time. But you're all invited to a ribbon cutting ceremony on December the 10th at 10:15 a.m. And that's only for mayor and council, not the public. Due to this COVID, we're going to limit it to the 10 people that the governor asked us to do. And we'll have representatives from Highlands there and from Camp Luna, another one from Camp Luna. So,
That's tomorrow.
next Tuesday, the 10th.
Tomorrow's the 10th.
Next Tuesday, I'm sorry.
So next Tuesday's the 15th?
15th, yeah, I'm sorry. The 15th. I'm sorry, yeah. Too many things happening today.
I know.
It's like a busy day. But I welcome them and I thank them. And this is a pilot project program and will be funded through a 5311 funding, which requires a 50% match. The cost of the pilot project will be $60,000. So 50% of that needs to be funded by Mora County, and it's soliciting finance assistance from the entities of 1/3 the cost of $10,000. And Luna did that, and Highlands did that, and the city put in $5,000 this year, and we'll see where we go from there. They won't be waiting for anybody at the bus stops. If you're there, vamos, if no, vamos, no, you stay behind. And they'll be by appointment, and they'll be pre-scheduled, those trips. But we'll find out more as more news comes out. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I just had one question, Dr. Taylor. The reader board, I know I had asked about it last month. What's the update on that? 'Cause
So I checked on it just yesterday, and from my understanding was we had problems with the software, but IT was able to either get it up fixed to yesterday or today or tomorrow, but they finally figured out what the problem is, so it should be up very quickly.
Okay, and then the other part, Dr. Taylor, I know we have the mayor and Virginia and Dr. Watson are working on our media campaign. Is there any way, I know that we're working on these translation of one of them in Spanish. Is there any way to put some of that material in the utility bills? Because kind of what I just read before the meeting from a few different individuals is that a lot of the Spanish-speaking community, surprising, I mean, not surprised, I thought it was a surprise at first, but I've heard it 3 times now, so I believe it more, is that they're not getting some of the messages as far as the, mass and stuff like that. So I don't know if we could put that literature in.
I think we can put it in there. It does cost us something, that I'll talk to Maria about it. She'll be here later, but I have a meeting with her in the morning.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's it, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. And again, I'd like to recognize Mr. Romero for assisting with the meeting that we had last night with the business community. He did a lot of the organizing, and I appreciate that. It was a well-attended meeting. We had 58 people attending, including the governor, lieutenant governor, and Victor Reyes from the governor's office, and I appreciate that so much. The meeting went very well. It was very informative, and everybody who attended went home with a lot of information. Thank you, Mr. Romero. Anybody else? Thank you. Next item.
Mr. Mayor, next item is approval of minutes for November 11th, November 18th, and November 19th, 2020.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the minutes of November 11th, November 18th, and November 19th.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero. Second, please. Thank you. Second by Mr. Ulibarri. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next item is moving on to business items. Conduct a public hearing for business items 1 through 5. And I invited the public, being that we couldn't have them here tonight, to send in any comments for any of those ordinances since we're having the public hearing. I only received one, and I'll read it at that time. I spoke to legal, and the way we're going to handle the public hearing is we'll have the public, open up the public hearing, discuss all the items, so 1 through 5, and then close the public hearing, and at that point, then council will vote on each item separately.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Mr. Aaron, do you need to be sworn in?
So,
Mr. Mayor?
first of all, we can go into
May I
public
make-
hearing.
Okay, sorry. I make a motion to enter public hearing for business items 1 through 5.
Motion by Mr. Romero. Second, please.
Second.
Second by Dr. Rodriguez. Roll call, please.
Councilor Montoya?
Yes.
Councilor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Romero, a second by Councilor Rodriguez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Cassandra.
And if I can have Scott, you'll be the only one speaking on this item. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I
Aye.
state
Scott
your name
Aaron,
for the record. Do solemnly swear
you solemnly swear
to tell the truth
to tell the truth
during my testimony to council this evening.
during my testimony to council this evening.
We have the first item, and that is the adoption of ordinance 20-13, amending the code of the city of Las Vegas by adding a new chapter 290 entitled Weed and Anti-Litter Ordinance, by deleting and repealing section 12.6.13.15, and by amending section 1212-1.2 penalty assessment program, by amending section 179-9, and by deleting and repealing section 301-68. Go ahead.
Okay, Mayor and Council, let me scroll through it here. I've got it in a PDF, so I've got a lot of pages. Bear with me just a second. Okay, this was the proposed ordinance that came before Mayor and Council recently. There was one question that I'll go ahead and address now regarding the fees and the penalties. The penalties make a provision in here. The actual language in here is that the penalty shall be, a person convicted of violating any provision shall be subject to the penalty provisions, to include a minimum fine of $500. So the question that I received had to do with whether the fine was at the discretion of the judge. The language in here doesn't provide that there's discretion for the judge. It shall be a minimum fine of $500, so the judge could potentially award more than that if, or fine more than that, but that's a minimum fine that shall be imposed, so there's not any room for the judge's discretion in there. So I thought I'd address that real quick. Other than that, it appears to me to be the same. And I'll stand for any questions.
I do have a question for you. Does that littering mean somebody throwing a piece of paper out of their vehicle or a cigarette butt?
It does. The cigarette butt would fall under the smoking product litter.
Okay.
Which would, and there's a reduced fine for that. It's reduced from the other forms of littering. But yes, it would include somebody throwing, paper, trash, napkins, water bottles out of the car. All of that would be included in there.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Mr. Montoya.
I did have a question, Mr. Scott. On page 11 and of 12, on the penalties, in section 290-99, penalties, I would ask that you insert the word mandatory 6 different times.
Okay.
One of them is the ordinance, and on the first paragraph, on the first, second, third, fourth sentence, it says including a minimum should be mandatory.
A mandatory minimum fine?
500.
Okay.
And then again, on the second paragraph where it says a minimum of, the same thing, before fine, a mandatory fine of $250. And on the next line, the same thing, a mandatory. This way, it don't matter what judge we have, he is obligated to give that fine. And if we're going to make this stick, I mean, it's just a matter of a few people getting fined that stick in order for them to, change their mind about throwing the next trash out the window or dumping it over there behind Stone Circle or wherever.
Okay. So the language would be a mandatory minimum fine of whatever the dollar amount is?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's in 6 different places on
Yep.
there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I did have a comment that Mr. Montoya, and I don't know, this could be discussed later on with people, but Mr. Montoya brought up a really good point when we discussed this ordinance first, and that's signage, proper signage coming into town, letting people know that there is a big fine for littering. But his point was really sank in with me, because I saw it recently in another city. When you're going into the city, there's signs everywhere that say what the littering fine is. But maybe we can discuss this at a later time. But thank you for the idea, Mr. Montoya. Mr. City Manager?
I don't know if in this particular ordinance, because in one of these ordinances, it does require signage. In fact, I made a note of it because I wanted to make sure that Public Works can put up this signage.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next one?
Second item is the adoption of ordinance 20-14, amending the code of the city of Las Vegas by adding a new chapter 330 entitled Riverwalk and Flood Ordinance.
And Mayor and Council, I know we discussed this when I proposed this recently, that this is the ordinance that governs the Riverwalk and any parks, and it's really meant to put some very clear distinctions regarding the way that our residents use and visitors use the park, and the times that they're allowed to use the park, and what the intention of the council is regarding the prohibited acts in both the Riverwalk and any of the city parks, and it provides for the penalties as well.
Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Also, I'd like to thank the attorney for adding on there the discharge and ignition of explosives, any fireworks in any place or park. But again, on this one, on penalties, I would like to add it under mandatory twice, on letter, on number 8330-99 penalties, and that would be on the B and C section.
Thank you, Mr. Montoya. Any further discussion? Next one.
Number 3 is adoption of ordinance 20-15, amending the administration of government code in section 14-1 through 14-13.
And Mayor and Council, this is basically a cleanup of some existing ordinances so that the pay scale, the length of term, those issues that were, where discrepancies exist in our current ordinances, that would be cleaned up. And also what this did is point back to the charter for certain items, so that the charter and the ordinances are synced together and they're conducive with each other.
Any comments, questions, concerns? Next one, please.
Item 4 is adoption of ordinance 20-16, amending the code of the city of Las Vegas by amending the penalty assessment program in section 1212.1.2 and to add a new section 1.8 to chapter 12, article 6, to be entitled penalty assessment for speeding violations, to be known as 12-6-1.8. Mr. Mayor, I do have a public comment for this item, if I can go ahead and read it to the record.
Absolutely. Thank you, Cassandra.
Dear Mayor and Councilors, I am writing this letter in favor of raising the fines with our local police department and courts. As I sit in the hotels on Grand Avenue that I manage, I see and hear drag racing from Latino's truck stop all the way to Love's truck stop on a daily basis. It is a daily issue. We also see multiple times a day an ambulance with B going down Grand to the hospital with their sirens on and cars just ignoring them. Well, if they have a driver's license, last time I checked, we were required to pull off on the shoulder and stop and wait for the emergency equipment to pass. Tickets should be issued when this does not happen. Lastly, I am 200% in agreement in raising the fine for littering as high as you can. A couple of councilors mentioned that some people in town cannot afford these stiffer fines. I have never lived anywhere, overseas included, where the fines are based on whether the offender can afford them. If you want to drag race and put others' lives in danger, then be prepared to cough up some major money. Respectfully, Troy Denison. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassandra. Mr. Aaron?
Mayor and Councilor, along with the ordinance, there's a schedule, the penalty assessment program schedule that's included in here, which does increase the the infractions of the speed limit, and it also includes a punishment, a fine for oversized vehicles on prohibited streets, which was recently passed by the council.
Any discussion?
Good, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Montoya?
Yeah, there is a dozen places where you can put mandatory before the fine penalty. I'd like to see attorney.
Thank you for doing that, Mr. Montoya. Appreciate that.
Yeah, because without that, it's to the discretion of the judge, and whoever is the next judge might think a little bit different than what we're trying to clean up our cities and have a little bit less peace, less noise and more peace.
Thank you. I agree. Next one.
Item 5 is adoption of ordinance 20-17, amending the code of the city of Las Vegas by adding a new section 80 to chapter 192 entitled noise control.
Mayor and Council, this was presented recently, and this is just a version of a noise control ordinance that's tailored specifically to the city of Las Vegas. It's fairly long. I know that you all have had a chance to review it, so I'll leave my comments at that.
Thank you. Any comments?
Mr.
Mr.
Maybe a
Montoya?
question for the city manager, and maybe you can answer it. Aaron, are we going to purchase those meters for the police to monitor the noise levels?
I'm not aware of what the police department currently has, but if there's something that's needed to enforce this, then they'll need to.
Okay.
I don't know if it's an app on the phone. I know there was a mention that that there's certain apps you can get on the phone. I don't know if that's what they choose to do, or if they want to have handheld separate decibel reading meters. I'll leave that up to the discretion of the police department. But yes, if they don't have that equipment, they'll need to acquire those.
Because otherwise it defeats the purpose if we're not going to give them the tools that they're required to enforce it. So, thank you.
And they're very inexpensive.
Yeah.
You can get one for $20, I think. Mr. Manager?
ordinance requires very specific kinds of equipment, and so I've discussed this a little bit with the chief of police, and he said, yeah, we have to purchase those, and hopefully we have enough money in our budget to have them.
Thank you. Is that it?
That's the last item.
I believe that's it.
Okay. So let's go back up to the top, and we will vote on each one, Mr. Romero.
I just had a question on the noise ordinance. Does,
Motion to get out of this
Public
meeting
hearing?
and close out public hearing and go into our city council meeting.
Mr. Romero, did you have something on the,
I was just curious, because I know in the noise ordinance, we also have, but it's not on here, the animals, barking and stuff like that, would that fall?
It's in there.
It's on there. It's on the loud one.
In fact, it says animals and birds, and I always thought of birds for animals.
Like roosters
And
or
only the only
something.
reason why is because I know we have that problem, but that's almost like unenforceable that, we don't do that now. So we just,
all right. There's a motion to go back into regular session from the public forum.
A second it.
Second by Dr. Rodriguez. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Now we go back to item number 1. Adoption of ordinance 2013.
I'll entertain a motion.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Montoya's motion on the floor, second.
Second as well.
Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
Have a motion by Counselor Montoya, second by Counselor Olivari Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
I'm sorry to do this, but if there was a band and a fire truck and a big parade and everything, we would be having them right now. This is big news for the city. This is a historic move for the city to become cleaner. Again, I would have loved to have celebrated this. If I had a mariachi, I would have thought about it, bringing them over because, this is a big move, and I thank the council for supporting this. We will, at one point, be the cleanest city in New Mexico, and that is my desire, and that's nothing big to wish for. It can happen, and with these fines, I hope people think twice about throwing stuff out the window or littering. I know it's not appropriate for me to comment, but I'm very excited. I want to jump out of my chair and do a cartwheel. Do you mind? I'm just kidding. Thank you so much. Next one, please.
Item 2 is adoption of ordinance 20-14.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Montoya, motion on the floor. Second?
Second as well.
Second by Mr. Ulibarri.
Mr. Mayor.
Roll call. Mr. Montoya.
Again, this is something, all these ordinances are basically coming from the forum when we ran for office. Most people and at the forums, they asked, what are you gonna do about this? What are you gonna do about that? This is what we're doing. We're gonna make sure that people are abiding by cleaning their yards, by not having loud vehicles, by not speeding. This is a big deal, and I asked the residents of Las Vegas to get on our website and look out for our ordinances, especially these ones that we're passing tonight, because they have some strict fines that are going to be mandatory. But on the other side of the coin, we have like the Friends of the Guarenas River, and we have the Parks Department. All these other people that are volunteering their time and their efforts to clean the riverwalk and the thousands of dollars that are going into that, this is earmarked towards this kind of stuff. So this is an appreciation of what they do to help the city, move the city forward, and revitalize the town. Now, it's hard to talk with this mask because I'm losing my ear. But, I thank people, the volunteers, of Las Vegas, of the parks, that help us keep them clean and so forth. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I'll shut up and call for a vote.
I think you're as excited as I am about these ordinances. This is big for Las Vegas. Thank you, Mr. Montoya. Motion?
Yes, I'll call roll call.
Okay, roll call, I'm sorry.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Junior?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Junior. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Next is item number 3, and that is adoption of ordinance 20-15.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Montoya, second please.
A second.
Second by Dr. Rodriguez. Roll call, please.
Counselor Olivari Junior?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Rodriguez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next one, please.
Adoption of ordinance 20-16.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Montoya, second please.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Junior?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Olivari Junior. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. And last but not least, item 5, adoption of ordinance 20-17.
Motion, please.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Montoya,
A second.
second by Dr. Rodriguez.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Romero.
I'd just like to note for the record, I'll be abstaining unless we, well, if we could take a roll call, but I'll be abstaining. And I'd like to note for the record that there are items within this ordinance that can be viewed as a conflict. I'd like to note for the record that I was not involved in any of the compilation of this ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Roll call, please.
Counselor Olivari Junior?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Rodriguez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Good
Mr. Mayor.
job. Mr. Ulibarri.
I have a comment. I just want to thank councilors and Valera for these ordinances. This is going to be really, really super nice for our city because we've been having problems for the past years and years and years with all the waiting and everything we got on these ordinances. And the thing is that I live in the west side. I go around to the east side almost all over town, and we have problems in every ward. And these ordinances are going to help us a lot. Hopefully, our neighbors, our families, or anybody that's around that can help us do what we have to do to keep this town as clean as we can. Because it's been years and years that this city's been, people do not care, and some do, some don't. But these ordinances will help us a lot. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Ulibarri. I appreciate your comments.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Montoya.
I'd like to thank our attorney, city attorney, Scott, Mr. Scott. Aaron, I think you did an outstanding job on these ordinances with our input in them. And I'll tell you, the community, this is going to be a reality check, let me tell you. First time somebody gets fined, it's going to be a big surprise because, we're used to letting weeds grow 3 foot high. We're used to letting trash and vacant buildings, vacant properties build up high, and that's no longer going to happen. Whether you live here or you live in Santa Fe and you own property here, they're going to get contacted and they're going to clean it up. That's the bottom line. And I thank Councilman Romero for letting the city manager be the one in charge of attending to this say-sos and direction on these properties. We do got to clean up our city. I mean, that's the bottom line. But the other side of it too, Mr. Mayor, is that we got to make sure that we have that solid waste transfer station open 6 days a week, and that's a chore. I'm not going to deny it. It's a chore, and our trucks running at all times. because it's all part of it. It's all in one circle. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Next order of business.
Item number 6, resolution number 20-69 to accept the New Mexico Department of Transportation Aviation Grant offer and assuring the availability of funds. Mr. Danny Gutierrez, Public Works Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Guerrero. Welcome. Thank you for being here tonight.
I'm here seeking approval of Resolution 2069 to accept the airport maintenance grant. It's used for consumable items, to buy blades and brooms and stuff.
What's the pleasure of the council? Sorry.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve Resolution 2069.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Romero,
Second, Mr. Mayor.
second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
question, what is this all used for?
This is used to buy like blades for the snow plow and stuff like that. They use it for the broom, now they got the new super, so they'll be using it to buy the brooms. They buy it for the airport lighting, for what do you call those, the reflectors, anything that's consumable.
Okay.
And it's every 2 years that they receive this grant, and our match has always been like $2,000.
Okay. And just to inform you, next time they have a meeting, let me know. I'm a new member of that committee. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Have a motion by Counselor Romero, second by Counselor Olivari Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carried.
Thank you, Cassandra.
We have item 7 is award bid number 2020-06 Days Plumbing and Heating Incorporated for the construction, reconstruction, pavement rehabilitation, drainage improvements, and miscellaneous construction to Mountain View Drive and King Street on West National Avenue. Mr. Goulet?
I'm here seeking approval of bid 2020-06 to award to Mr. Hayes Plummer for the continuation of the project here on Mountain View and King West National due to us letting go of the previous.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I had a question as far as the vendor. I know I brought it up, and I don't know if Councilman Montoya falls within his district, and he's brought it up, but we did both go in and look at a project that they had done on 8th Street, the sewage project, where the portion is caving in.
Yes.
And I don't know, I mean, it's been within the year, and I'm just wondering if...
Right now, they're actually taking care of that issue. They're actually taking out the asphalt, redoing it, and they're actually putting cement in there. So since the asphalt right now, the temperature's kind of...
Because it's a good portion that had...
Yeah, so they're gonna go ahead and repair that, and once it gets warm enough, they're gonna be able to go ahead and, it's warranty work, so they're
Okay.
doing it on their dime.
Okay, so
And they're taking care of it actually right now.
Maria?
Mr. Mayor, if I might also add a comment to that, that'll be a different subcontractor. We're not using, that was Christine
Yeah.
as a subcontractor. This time it'll be Desert Fox. So that will be a different subcontractor.
Thank you.
And where is this contractor from, Mr. Mayor?
The Randy Hayes is
Subcontractor.
from here in Vegas.
Yeah, but
And then the
subcontractor.
subcontractor, I think, is from Santa Fe.
Santa Fe.
Or Pecos, around their area.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I had another question. You know, I'm a little bit troubled, so I guess that was kind of like the answer to it, I guess. Because mobilization, insurance, and bonds are 18,000, and pre-authorization construction charges 15,000. Why so high on the mobilization? I was thinking if it's Randy Hayes from here, you know, but apparently it's because it's a company from
It's a
Santa Fe.
subcontractor that have to bring all their equipment down.
Mm.
Continue.
And these guys aren't bonded, or how come they didn't apply for it?
They applied with Mr. Hayes, I don't know why, how they came up with them applying together.
Is there a loophole there as far as
And they should.
them not having a license here in San Miguel County, or?
I think they should have, they are licensed and bonded, no?
Mhm.
So to actually work. It's just that Randy Hayes is the main contractor, Desert Fox would be the sub on their paving, so basically, Randy Hayes and them will take care of all the bottom basin stuff, and Desert Fox will come in and they'll do the asphalt part of it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So for the record, we're going with Hayes because they were the second.
Second lowest
Original.
bidder, yes, to keep it fair and since they were the second lowest bidder, so that's what we're doing.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Ulibarri?
to approve to award the bid of 2006 to Hayes Plumbing and Heating.
Thank you. Second? Is there a second? What's the pleasure of the council? In this case, do we move on? Do we not adopt this contract or?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Montoya?
I had a question, but I don't know if I can ask it before the second is done, so
There's no second.
that's what I'm saying. If I
I'll
can have
allow it.
discussion, I don't know if the attorney allows us to have discussion before a second.
If it's not up for a vote, and it's still in discussion, and the questions permitted.
Mr. Mayor,
I thought it was vice versa.
this work at Mountain View Drive and King Street have been going on for the past 2 years.
Mhm.
You know, we had a contractor came in and started doing some work on View, and something went wrong and this and that, and now we're coming back to getting another contractor, and we need these streets done. These streets have been going on, been like this for years and years and years. Especially my street, the street up on King Street and West National. Those streets have been good streets for the past decade. And, you know, this is coming to the council. We need these streets done because we have residents go up there. We use those streets all the time, you know. And if the contractor doing his job, we're bringing it back to the council, we need these streets done.
And that's why I brought it back to you guys for approval, just because the contractor failed to, meet his contract.
Thank you.
But-
Mr.
but
Montoya, go ahead.
Are you saying that this is gonna be done for the same price, or what Randy bid on it?
No,
As a
so
second bidder.
basically, we're gonna do a bar for the Mountain View, we're gonna have to add an additional $38,000, which we're gonna have the funds in the 216, we're gonna move it from the street fund into our road fund.
And that's my concern. Why are we adding $38,000 more?
Just because of the material and stuff like that, that he brought in, the pricing.
So since he bid it out to now, it increased 38,000?
Well, that's, that's basically because in the first original bid, he came in, he's like almost $200,000 higher than Mr. Matthews. So basically, we have to compensate with his bid. And they're getting the material from Santa Fe, the hot mix isn't coming from here. There's the cost, the added cost to that.
And you have the 38,000 available?
Yes.
Just to make clear, I think that Mr. Hayes' estimate, they did go up. He came in second, so this is above what Mr. Matthews had agreed to do it for, but he wasn't able to do it in a satisfactory way, so.
I got you.
So with that, what we're approving tonight, if you go into the bid sheet, on item number, on 3 where Hayes Plumbing bid, so the 420,000 for number 1 would be the Mountain View project, right?
Yeah.
Number 2 would be, so those numbers are the same, or they're additional?
No, they're the same. The only thing is, Warren Matthews had already finished part of the project, so he's just gonna continue and finish off the paving, the cement work that's done on needed as well on Mountain View.
It came a little bit more, but it's gonna get done, I guess, with bigger materials, so. I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I just think that there's, the proper procurement way to do it is to rebid again, but that's my opinion on that. I know it takes a while, but, it's not like they could start now during the winter anyway.
To make it all fair, I guess you just go down with the second bid, just because They actually came in, they gave the paperwork, their cost estimates and stuff like that, so that's the fair way to do it, instead of putting it out to bid again.
Not only that, but those funds gotta be encumbered. They've been sitting there for what, 2 years?
4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
So if you don't use it, you lose it.
That's true.
So there's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Counselor Rodriguez?
I'm abstaining.
Counselor Romero?
No. And not because of the project, I just think that the proper procurement way would be to bid again, but, so that's my reason for no, not because of the vendor.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Olivari Jr. and a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Gurule, before you leave, I'd like to thank you and your crew for decorating the town. It looks fantastic. The lights look great, the poles look great, that you put all those flags, and it's a very festive season for us, although COVID has dampened a lot of stuff, but it brightens up the mood of the city, and you and your crew have done a fantastic job. Please relay that to your crew.
I will.
Thank you so much.
you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Next
Mayor,
order.
Next, item 8, award request for bids number 2021-06 for the lift station improvements in the DBIB Industrial Park to Hayes Plumbing and Heating Incorporated. We have Maria Gilvery, our Utilities Director.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilors.
Good evening, Maria. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. So I believe the first one on the list for me is the one for the DBIB Industrial Park. All three of these are going to be for lift stations. The City of Las Vegas has wastewater lift stations located on the southern part of the town. That is to lift sewage up to different levels to get it to the wastewater plant. These facilities are very old. The electrical systems do not meet current code. The pumps have been duct taped together, and we've done everything we could to keep it running as long as we have, and they do need to be fully rehabilitated. The first one we have today is the lift station again at DBIB, and that one where we had one bidder, Hayes Plumbing and Heating, in the amount of $258,500. This is going to be funded by a grant loan from Clean Water SRF. So there are requirements that have to be met. All those requirements have been met. NMFA is working with us on these, on the funding of these projects. So all the requirements by Hayes Plumbing and Heating were met. So request to award to
Thank
Hayes.
you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor? I just had one question, and we have additional ones to the same vendor. Do they have the staffing to be doing all these projects?
They'll be doing, since they'll be awarded all three of these, they'll be doing them consecutively. We actually have a priority list of which lift station needs to be done first, so they won't be doing them in conjunction, they'll be doing them one following the other.
So we have
And
that.
yes, they do.
And the different roads and all these projects?
Yes,
they're-
they do. They have different crews. They actually have crews out of Albuquerque, crews out of Las Vegas. They have, Hayes has a large employment staffing.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question too.
Mr.
We can-
Montoya.
If we're allowed to ask questions before making a motion. Is there any conflict of interest with you and this company, Maria,
Thank you. Let me.
that you'd like to disclose?
I apologize, I should always leave that off every time. My son is an employee for Hayes Plumbing and Heating. He is a journeyman plumber,
Okay.
so he does work for the company.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to award request for bid 2021-06.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second, sir.
Second, any additional discussion? Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Second is Mr. Olivari.
Thank you. Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Olivari Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item is 9, award request for bids 2021-05 for the lift station improvements at the New Mexico Department of Transportation to Hayes Plumbing and Heating. Maria?
This is another lift station located on the DOT area. This is actually our most critical one, so this will be the priority. This should be the one they get to first. The electrical is horrible here. It is inches away from the ground. The system is rusted. We have to be careful when we open the hatches. It's so deteriorated. There were 2 bidders on this one, Hayes Plumbing and New Image. Again, this is funded by CWSRF, which is federal funding, so there are requirements. New Image did not submit the proper paperwork, and we were told by Construction Programs Bureau that they could not be awarded the project because they did not complete all the required documentation, which is called, it was the Disadvantaged Business Enterprises documentation that have to do with advertisement in business and rural areas, trying to make, they're called good faith documents. They did not provide the good faith documents, so they were not eligible.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Is there anything that you ought to disclose on this one, Maria?
Would you like for me to disclose each time that my son does work for Hayes Plumbing?
Okay.
Just for the record.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Montoya.
I couldn't find it on here, but is there any mobilization fees on this one?
I did not see, on this one, they do have mobilization for $13,500.
And that's to move 1 mile across town, or is it for other companies to come into town?
This one, they do have a subcontractor, but most of the work will be done by Hayes. And I do believe one of the things that we've worked well with local companies is when they do make a bid, if there's certain areas they can save money. And this is one of the companies that we've actually come in under budget numerous times because they do find ways, such as in mobilization. And that would be a discussion I would have with them, is if you're going to get all 3 projects in the same area, a reduction in the mobilization. That would be a discussion.
Yeah,
A discussion I would have.
because it kind of bothers me that we have three bids for the same contractor, and each time they're charging us the mobilization fees.
Right, so they were bid as independent projects. He couldn't bid it as if he got all 3 until he gets all 3. So he does have to bid as if he was only going to get 1. But again, we will have a discussion with him to reduce the costs that are not going to be incurred because he will already be there.
Okay.
Initially, just a little bit of background on this. When we were planning on doing this project, we were going to do 1 each year because the cost of doing these lift stations was outside of our budget. Then the state came to us and helped us with funding. We'd already started making 3 independent projects. They had 3 different engineers. So we've had to run them as 3 independent projects.
And how long is this project going to contain? By when will it be done?
I can get back with you with a time frame on
Okay.
that.
And this is well in need, Mr. Mayor, because, I used to be the supervisor there at the patrol yard, and the DOT always had problems with this lift station, always giving out, and, it's an old one, so I imagine the other 2 are also, so.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. There's a
Second,
motion
Mr.
on the
Barr.
floor, second by Mr. Olivari.
Mr. Mayor, discussion.
Discussion?
I'm sorry.
Mr. Romero?
I just, Maria, I want you to kind of, understand this. I'm as blunt sometimes as they come. We get concerns that from within your department, the amount of jobs that are going to this contractor. And I just want to clarify that you're following all the procedures, all procurement procedures that you need to follow. That there's no influence whatsoever. I know you disclosed that. But is there any other steps that we could take as a city to try to avoid that perception? And I know it's tough, I know it's hard, but you got to understand.
Yeah, no, Counselor, I absolutely understand. I have no control over who chooses to bid. I do have control over the sense that we do put them out to bid. They get advertised in Albuquerque, they get advertised in Las Vegas, they're placed on the city's website, they're placed in construction apps or construction, there's a construction location on the internet where you can go look at all the kinds of projects that are available. So we do everything we can, along with, we work with procurement. Procurement is in charge of running these. We get the bid documents done according to their specs. We provide them according to their specs. We advertise them according to their specs, not my specs, not utilities department. Procurement, which is run, they follow all state rules.
So does the procurement, all the procurement process, is that handled within the procurement department of the finance, or is that within your department?
Not within my department. My department will start the process like we want to put it out to bid. We'll develop the scope. We'll be working with the engineers on the project. But once we want to put it out to bid, it goes over to Helen for review. Helen makes sure that it meets all requirements. Then she's the first one to see it. She won't approve it if it doesn't meet state requirements. We won't even go past her to the city attorney for review and the city manager for review until it meets state requirements. She's also the one that makes sure that we advertise it for the proper amount of time. And if we don't,
so your involvement is minimal.
my involvement until I sit in front of you is nothing now. Project management runs it. I don't. It will come before me just to make sure that we're spelling words properly and that the scope is adequate and as a second set or a third set of eyes. But it's run by the project management division.
I just wanted to clear that up.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate making sure that's on the record because I do understand the perception.
Okay.
And sometimes there's perception and there's reality, and I want to make sure that we have it fully documented.
Mr. Mayor, on that same point, I think, Maria, another valuable asset that you have is that these items all should go through the committee, utilities committee.
Yes.
And they should be making this recommendation also.
And they did, and I apologize,
They're not
they
on
did
the-
go before the utility advisory committee and they did recommend approval.
Yeah, well, that needs to be included in this packet.
We put it on the front of the here, actually, we used to put it here, it's not there anymore, but the utility advisory committee meeting was held yesterday. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
And one last question, Mr. Mayor. What's our percentage on this, on the grant?
This is a
facility responsible?
CWSRF, so it should be about 75-25, but I can get back to the exact number for you.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind checking into that
Yes.
and letting us know on the mobilization fees.
Mobilization
because-
and the percentage.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one other thing that I'm on to what Councilman Romero was talking about. We shouldn't be bidding out projects to anybody that we're already having to deal with problems with. Now, I don't know who the inspector was on that 8th Street project for the city, but that should have never happened. They should have compacted that material the way it's required to do, and we wouldn't have no sinking of the road. Now, for us to be awarding contracts for this amount to somebody that can't do a small project, bothers me. So we need to ensure that these contractors, who we're issuing them out, these contracts, that we don't have fault back there that they need to fix.
And then there's
So-
many other projects that Hayes is currently working on for the city.
Yeah.
Again, they do have a pretty large staffing, so this is not a staffing issue. They have different areas, whether
Yes.
it's construction or road work or.
And I understand all
concrete
that,
work.
but
And I do agree that they do need to be held to a proper standard.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you. While we're on the discussion of contracts, Mr. Aaron, could I ask you to do some research on the city having a preference for local contractors? I know other communities do it. I'd really like, as much as possible, to award bids to local companies. I think it's very important for our economy, and I know other communities have a local company preference. So if you would, I'd really appreciate that.
If I might, we do that. There is a local There's a local, a women-owned, and a veterans-owned preferences for these. If it's an RFP and we're ranking them, they can get a 5-point boost. It is 5% on a bid. So if they come in 4% higher than the next company, and the next company is not local, they can still end up getting the
Sure.
bid because of that 5%. So we do give local businesses a 5%
Okay.
boost.
The other issue is that I don't know if the specs could include that the subcontractors, that local subcontractors will be used as opposed to contractors from out of state, I mean, out of the city. We just had a contract come to us and they're using, Hayes is using a contractor from Santa Fe, a subcontractor from Santa Fe for material. I'm hoping that in the future that those specs could read that companies that are bidding will use, not only be local, that, you know, we would hope that they would be local, but that they would use local subcontractors.
I will check with procurement on that. I do know that there are other, like federal and state requirements for,
Yeah, I'm sure there
American
are.
made, so there are going to be some guidelines, and absolutely, if we can put that in there.
Yeah.
We do prefer to use local,
Yes,
but if it's a choice between using somebody from Santa Fe or not being able to do the project at all, then, you know, unfortunately, you know, such as New Image has been a great company. They've done a lot of projects for us. They were
Right.
asked why they weren't able, my understanding is they were asked why they only bid on one. They said they did not have the time. They have a smaller company.
yeah.
They didn't have the time.
And that's the part that I'm asking
Yes.
the expertise from our legal team, or legal, Scott's our team. He's a one-man team.
One man.
His expertise in looking at the specs when they go out, just to see if we could, the contractors could subcontract with local vendors first. Mr. Montoya?
And you gotta, you hit the nail on the head there, Mr. Mayor. I think you're going a step further, Mr. Aaron Scott. If you would check into that when we put out these contracts out for bid, that we ask these companies to hire 10% or 20% of their labor from here, from this area. I don't know if it's legal or if it's not legal or what, but I think that these companies that are coming from out of town and doing work here, we need some work and we need some jobs. So if 10%, 5%, 20%, whatever the amount of the job is, we can break it down and see if we can get some people from here interested in some of those jobs.
That may be a good addition, as if we can't necessarily have a local company, at least if the local company can hire local.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Aaron.
Even if we can't put it in anything legal, if that's mentioned to the contractors, they can be aware of it and they can make hopefully a good decision. Especially, you know, Hayes is a local company. They want to do what they can for
Sure.
the community.
Very well. Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
We have a first and a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call, please. Thank you, Madam
Councilor
Clerk.
Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez? Yes. Councilor Montoya?
Yes.
Councilor Vivadi Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Montoya, a second by Councilor Vivadi Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 10, award request for bids 2021-07 for the lift station improvements at the San Miguel County Detention Center to Hayes Plumbing and Heating.
And this is the third of the 3 lift stations we have today, and I want to clarify, this does not belong to San Miguel County or the detention center. That's just the reference we use because of the location of the lift station.
Correct.
It is on a piece of property that we have an easement on. It's on Mr. Bibb's property, but it's an easement on Mr. Bibb's property that we have had for decades for this lift station.
Thank you.
So we did, same as the other 2, these were advertised in the Albuquerque Journal on the city's website. There was only one bidder here. It is Hayes Plumbing and Heating. Again, my son does work for Hayes Plumbing. And that was the sole bidder.
Mr. Mayor?
Request approval to award.
I'm going to make a motion to approve bid 2021-07.
There's a motion by Mr. Romero. I'll entertain a second.
Second, Mr. Mayor, with a question?
Second by Mr. Montoya. Roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry, you have a question?
Yes, Maria, so all this will be done at the same time?
That will be done
Yes.
consecutively.
Okay. And then, is this going to have any effect into the future plans of that new company that's coming in or wanting to come into the county?
This does not impact that.
No. Okay, so that would be the other side of the
The other
interstate.
side of the interstate, yes. None of their sewage would go through these lift stations.
Okay. Well, talk to the contractor and see if on those mobilization fees. I'm pretty interested on those because, you know, we shouldn't be paying mobilization fees for 3 different times for 3 different, they should have all been bid all at once and one mobilization fee.
And again, that was my responsibility there because I chose to bid these as 3 separate projects over 3 separate years. We got lucky with funding, and we ended up combining them so we could get them done.
Thank you.
Call for the question, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Call for a vote.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Junior?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Mayor.
being here.
Thank you, Counselor.
Appreciate it. I appreciate all your work.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 11, resolution number 20-70, a resolution to certify the city of Las Vegas fixed assets and inventories. We have our finance director, Jesus Vaquera.
Welcome, Mr. Vaquera.
Mayor,
Thank you for being here.
Councilman,
Good afternoon, Mr. Vaqueros.
I'm here seeking certification from the council and the mayor on our fixed assets and inventories for auditor purpose and DFA purposes.
Thank you, thank you. What's the pleasure of the council for item number 11, resolution number 20-70? Does it need further explanation?
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Resolution number 20-70.
There's a motion by Mr. Montoya,
Second, Mr. Mayor.
second by Mr. Ulibarri.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Question, go ahead.
Mr. Vaquera, I had done a hold of you a while back, last week, when I reviewed this listing. And there were a couple of places that were listed on there, and one of them was a Safeway building, or it was indicated as a Safeway building, but it's a Safeway parking lot only. And the other one was OK Cafe,
Yes,
and Mr. Vaqueras is going to check into that one.
I just found out.
Oh, you just
It's
found-
where the CCH is at.
CCT, okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. Okay, and the other question that I had, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vaqueras, so now that we don't have housing, or when we start not having housing anymore, how is that gonna affect our status on all this big picture?
Our assets are going to decrease by 4.3 million, because that's the assets that are on the books for housing. And I have a meeting tomorrow with housing to discuss how we're going to transfer all our assets.
Okay,
So
So-
by tomorrow after lunch, I will know exactly.
okay. And the follow-up question to that is, so if we're in need of some fundings, in that aspect, how is that gonna take effect? As far, because I know the more assets you have, the city, the more money you can borrow and the more bonds you can have and so forth. But-
Yes, our ratios are going to decrease.
Yeah.
And obviously, we'll have less assets.
So is that putting us like in a real bad position right now, or no? Is it
no.
gonna hurt us a lot, or no?
No, because I think we got a little over
Okay,
$110 million in assets,
Yeah.
so
okay.
4.3 million is going to be less than 2%.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Call for the question.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Montoya?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Vivani Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Montoya, second by Councilor Vivani Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Our next item is resolution number 20-71. This is a resolution to make budget adjustments for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. Mr. Barquera?
We need a budget adjustment for our fire protection grant. We got an extra 100,000 from the state, plus we got a $24,000 carry forward. And then we got, we need to move monies from Fund 216, our street improvements, into Fund 214. That's that 38,000 that was mentioned earlier with Mountain View project. So that's to fully fund the Mountain View project.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Ulibarri?
to approve resolution 20-71, budget adjustment.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second.
Second by Dr. Rodriguez. Roll call, please.
Councilor Montoya?
Yes.
Councilor Vivani Jr.?
Yes.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Vivani Jr., a second by Councilor Rodriguez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Montoya?
I know this question has nothing to do with what's on the agenda, but since we have Mr. Baqueras here, I wonder if he could brighten us on what happened on the auction and how we did, if it's appropriate.
I'll allow that. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Baquero.
To my knowledge, I think we received a little over $100,000 in revenue from the auction.
Everything sold?
I don't know about everything sold, but that's what we sold, was 100,000. We're in the process, I think, last Friday was the last day for people to pay and come and pick up their stuff. So I can verify with procurement to see where it's at, and get you exact numbers on how much we raised.
I would like to have a report next council meeting, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Vaquera, could you please provide a council with a report of what was sold?
You bet you.
I was going to say stolen. Sold. Thank you, Mr. Vaquera. I appreciate that.
I'm just interested in see if it worked out
Sure.
good for us or not, and
We'll
see if we
do
can
it
have one in
again.
the spring, because I know there's still a few stuff that we could add to that list.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Vaquera.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Montoya, it was a pretty good success. I think it is more like 120,000 plus. And we're talking about doing it again in 6 months. Because
Okay.
there was some stuff that wasn't sold and there was some stuff that wasn't put on there.
Mhm.
So we're looking at doing it again.
Okay. Thank
But we
you.
can get you the precise numbers.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Vaquera. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next order of business.
Mr. Mayor, Councilors, the next order is discussion and direction on whether to continue to hold council meetings in person or to hold council meetings virtually. And this was brought up at our last council meeting, and so we went ahead and put it on our agenda so that we can get direction from mayor and council how to proceed with our future council meetings. Unfortunately, due to our technical equipment, we're only able to do either one. We cannot do both. So we would either have to have it in person or hold it virtually. If we do hold meetings virtually, we could have maybe a couple of counselors sitting in the council chambers that would be able to do it on their laptops. We wouldn't get too much feedback from what I understand from IT. But other than that, I mean, everybody would have to either be on their laptops or their phones and or continue to do it in person. So we bring it to you to give us some direction on that.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Olivari,
you know, I don't mind doing what we're doing now in person. The reason is because I'm not set up at the house with any of my computers or anything. I would have to go down to my data node and do everything there. You know, and another thing, you know, we're keeping where we're sitting at. We're keeping a distance. We're not socializing, but you know, and I think that's one of the problems that we might have. But you know, we're keeping our distance, and I don't think I'm not would not like to do that because I don't have a way to do it. I can, but it would take too much time for me to do it.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Romero.
If I can, I did meet with Kenny, and I'm pretty sure I think Dr. Taylor probably also did. So kind of the talk was that we could still, and of course, I mean, anything can happen to any of us at any time. We may contract COVID. And of course, you know, within those 2 weeks that we have to be quarantined, we might have to be at home. And if that's me and I'm willing and able, I mean, some people are, you know, like I said, they get the contract COVID and do fine, but they still have to quarantine. Some of them get sick, but let's use the example that I contract it. I'm okay for the 2 weeks. During those 2 weeks, more than likely, we do have meetings within those 2 weeks. I'd like to participate if I'm willing and able to, but I don't want to come and jeopardize, you know, anybody here. And I think that should work with any city employee or anybody that wants to come and you know, participate within our meetings. As I understand, we have had individuals within the city, you know, contract COVID. But I mean, we've got to eliminate every possibility of us putting anybody in jeopardy. Whether it's, I mean, I have no problem coming in person, but it's not about me, it's not about the council, it's about the public that comes here and also the employees. I mean, we did have Mr. Taylor, Dr. Taylor contracted. He had to miss a meeting. And I'm asking that, you know, not to put anybody in any liability. We still have the option, and we can't use the current system that we have right now. But there was the option with talking with Kenny that all the meetings could and would probably be easier. We wouldn't have Mr. DeChamps here or Danielle having to sit there and take care of the camera. One of the options was we all have video cameras on our computers. We could come here to our meeting if we decide. Everything would be just like we would be at home, but we would be here. And of course, you know, there would be an IT guy needed if we do here and to help us or whatever we need. Everything would be on Google Meets, which we know it worked. We had 60 people on last night with no problems. We were able to control that. As far as executive session, the way that would work is we would be in a separate, there would be a separate invite for that, so that can be taken care of. You know, we continue to, I mean, our job is to continue to protect the community. Whether we want to, you know, be here, even if it's just the council, we'd be here, but we can't continue with the system that we have and then try to tie in virtual, you know, everybody that comes in. We did have cases that concerned me where we had 4 individuals sitting up here for presentations, and that's wrong. And that's the part that I'm saying that we put our community at risk and our employees. And I'm sorry, but we all value our employees, and I don't want to see that. I'm just saying, let's do away with this system, let's go virtual right here. And if one of us wants to participate from home to protect, if we're sick or, we were contacted, it's hit hard. We have an employee that, has tested, we've had that happen. And I'm just saying that, let's move to this virtual where if we want to participate here, we're here, but we have the option to do it from home if we can. Or if Dr. Taylor or Mr. Scott Aaron or Cassandra, at one point, all of us is going to come in contact with us during 10 days. We're going to have to quarantine, or it's a few days, or while we're waiting for test results. I don't want to feel obligated and say, well, I'm waiting for my test results. Let me go. We have a meeting. I want to be at this meeting. Well, I want to keep everybody safe. Let me participate from home. So I'd say that my thing is, if we want to come in person, we can, but let's change everything from this system to do it on Zoom. And to what I understand, it'll be easier. Danielle won't have to control. That's my option, and it works for everybody. We don't force anything upon anybody.
Can I ask a question? Would the meeting, Mr. DeChamps, would the meeting be able to be aired if someone was at home?
Yes, we can still air that.
Yes.
We can still air it on YouTube and on Comcast.
Yes.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
And this is a question that's totally up to the council, but in terms of the technical side of things, you could have your laptops, and we could set aside the mayor's office, my office, some other places that people could sit, so that, or you could sit here in council chambers if there's just one or two people, and use your laptops. So just from a technical point of view, we can do that.
Go ahead, Dr. Rodriguez.
I just want to support Councilman Romero, because when I was sick, and I'm continuing to stay sick and can't quite get rid of this flu or cold, and I had to miss one of the meetings. It would have been so much nicer, and I could have participated if I could have done it virtually. And I agree that, now we're going to be coming off of the holidays. And I know all the work that the county and the city has been doing in regards to the PSAs and working with residents. But it's just a given that people are going to be interacting, shopping. And my concern is, coming off of the holidays, Christmas, the New Year's, as we move into January and February. I agree with Councilman Romero that it's not just me that I'm concerned about, but anyone who has to come and present in front of the council. I think they should have the option either to do it virtually or at least, and it seemed like it was fairly easy when we did last night's meeting. Also fairly easy when we did the meeting between the county and the city over COVID. So I think that we should work to at least have that option.
Okay. Anybody else? All righty.
Mr. Mayor, I'll say my peace of mind. You know what? I take my oath of office real seriously. And I imagine that all you all do for yourselves. I like the plan of the city manager. I mean, we are, if you look at us, we're 12 feet apart. We're all leaders in this community. We all should be responsible of each other, our neighbors, our families. And to me, I mean, I'm shut down. I'm just going from my place to my place and back home.
Excuse me.
Even my kids are staying in their homes. I think that the city manager has a valid point. He can be in his office on virtual, and the attorney, if he chooses to, I mean, he can be on his office too, and the clerk can be there too. Mayor and council can be in here, And like I asked the city manager and the clerk, just have one presenter at a time. None of this bringing out employees and putting their risks at life and so forth. I don't stand for that. I told the city manager since day one, your job is to keep everybody safe under your umbrella. Everybody. And you gotta do and take whatever measures you can to keep them safe. And if they're sick, they need to stay home. I took the flu shot. I'm one of those that didn't believe in the flu shot for, 40 years. But as I got older, I took the flu shot. So, and I'll tell you, this pandemic is nothing to laugh about. It's serious. And I'm a little bit upset that, our state was doing so well till they lifted up the restrictions. And I know it's hard on businesses. But I'll tell you, every time they lift up the restrictions, here we go again. And I'll tell you, we're going to hear it now for, by Christmas, by end of December. It's going to spike up again. And I don't know what people aren't seeing, if they're not seeing around the nation what's going on, where nurses are quitting their jobs and going into other professions. Doctors are dying. Their families are dying. We are at the capacity in New Mexico of only 25 beds available. And the governor is going to start putting in a mandate or start talking about to the doctors and dictating to the doctors who they're going to see and who they're not going to see. To me, being on this stage in San Miguel County, to me, it wasn't a win-win situation. To me, we're headed towards red because people aren't abiding by staying home. And like Councilman Romero said, a lot of our people in this area in the north, they don't know what's going on because they don't speak English. In the rural areas, the corona is like, what's a corona? That's what they're asking, or what it is. They're secluded. They don't have internet. They don't have television. I've been there. And we're not getting to them. And we should be running ads in Spanish and so forth. But either way, the point is being that I oppose doing virtual meetings. And I'll tell you one thing, I've been kicked out of meetings. I have been ignored in meetings. And I've heard things in meetings that shouldn't have heard, and a lot of things have happened in different meetings that I've attended to. And then a lot of times you don't even know who's in the meetings and so forth. If a question arises, here we go searching for the answer. And to me, it's not working right. I think mayor and council can be in here and you call it a little prison for us or whatever, but the public is on YouTube and they have access to us. The media has access. If one person comes at a time and presents, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see a problem with just doing it the way we're doing it.
Mr. Mayor?
But of course, for the safety of the staff, if they want to do it in their offices and be virtual, I guess that would work too.
Mr. Mayor? And that's a confusion that you got, Mr. Montoya, is that the whole virtual part is, so even the staff, them working in their office, that's virtual. We can't do it with the current system. If they're in their office, the whole thing would be on Zoom, no matter what.
Well,
And-
I don't see them being a problem right here, Mr. Romero.
And going to the Zoom, the only ones that would be invited are going to be the immediate staff, the way it is here, right in this room. Those that are, need to be in it. The rest of it's going to be broadcast. It's going to be, through YouTube and Facebook if we wanted to do that, but it's YouTube, the way it is right now. There's no, it's not going to be like last night was very difficult to me being, I had to ask Kenny for help because, you have to kind of control, mics on, mics off, because you get some background. It's not going to be, last night I thought it was going to be difficult to handle. We handled it, and that was with 60. So with 8 of us, it's going to be a piece of cake, 8, 10 of us. And then as those presenters come in, all they do is, log in, at the time that we queue him in. What happens on my side, like it did last night, is as everybody logs in, it says such and such is logging in. I have to accept for them to get on.
I understand the way the
So-
process works.
So it's not, it's not, it's not like it's gonna be 60 people. I know some of the meetings that you've been in, it's kind of been chaotic. It's not gonna be like that because everything, like the general public will be viewing, they won't be viewing, they won't be hearing everything that, they're gonna be hearing me, but they're not gonna be participating in the little blocks the way it was last night with so many of them. It's gonna be them on YouTube.
And then the other concern that I had is, it seems to me that I've never been to so many executive meetings, when we go into executive. In our days, it was more like a sin to be in an executive unless they really needed to have, executive session. But to me, I don't believe in that system. That you go into another room or this or the other, or to me, it's not secured. It's not a secure system for me.
And I'll just comment is that I think all of us here, if you were exposed, you'd want to stay home and you'd want to participate in the meeting, so you'd have that option. For the most part, we will, for me, I don't mind holding these meetings like this, but I'll tell you that if I'm the first one to tell you, if I've been exposed or if I'm sick, I'm not coming to a meeting. I will handle that from home. I have the capability. Some people don't, but I have the capability. And so, and I think that's an understanding with all of us. If you've been exposed or you're sick, please don't come to a meeting. I don't want you here. But I would like to participate if I was healthy enough to participate from home. And I think that's the beauty of having this, like Mr. Montoya said, either or. Elaine, Dr. Rodriguez, she's feeling sick or she has kiddos and she wants to limit her exposure to the public, she's welcome to join us virtually. And you've expressed that before. So I think moving forward, I think the meetings can still be held here. The people who want to be remote can be remote. Is that an issue, Mr. DeChamp? No?
As long as you guys are all on separate computers.
Right.
It's just we can't do it all in here. You don't have the equipment that we do.
Got you. Miss.
So what you're saying is it'll be virtual. It'll just be whoever wants to be in here.
Yes. Option.
Or in another office.
And the other
That's what
option.
you're saying, right? Not in person, but virtually you can be in here on your laptop. Because you can't do both, correct?
No.
It's one or the other.
Oh, so we would all have to be virtual.
Right.
Yeah,
You
see.
could be here, but
Well,
on your laptop.
On your computer. So you would still, so like right now, we wouldn't be using those cameras. The cameras would be coming from here.
I see.
So each one of us would have him on, and, basically, instead of, if you go to YouTube right now and you see that corner there, it's me. It's me on the camera. Versus what they would be seeing is a screen of each single one of us, kind of the way you do on YouTube. There's not, nothing's going to change. We show up here, we come to our meetings. If one can't make it, well, they're on there at home, and there's no problems. It's not, nothing's really going to change. There's going to be more benefits because within that there's that phone option. So if people, when they do make the call, they can actually participate better than what they can now. Because right now, yes, they could call in, but the sound between that and the system we have, it's not too great. Versus if they make the phone call on the Zoom, you'll hear either they could be in person and we allow them to, we click them on, to present or however public input, or they make the phone call that'll be clear for those viewers.
Go ahead.
So how could it be say they can make a phone call during one of the agenda items, and then let somebody zoom in this and ask questions about that. That's on the public input, is that?
It would still be the public input. It would only, we'd have a specific area for public input. And just let me tell you where I'm at with this. If our system is antiquated, we need to upgrade it. If this system is old and it doesn't have the capacity to do both or either, and if there's a problem with our software or our system or our hardware, I think it's time to maybe look at a better system. And I know there's money, I know it costs money, but if we could better be here and project it to the city and to the constituents better, I think we need to look at a system that's more modern. Mr. Taylor, do you have something?
We can use COVID money for CARES Act money for the software and whatever for this room, but the problem we have is the infrastructure in the room, the electrical capacity and other things. We can't use that money for that. We have other money we can use.
Yeah.
Because we save some money by using CARES Act money to pay the police and other things. But it's not going to be cheap. But I think going forward, we're going to be using this facility for a long time. Even if we decided we want to get a new city hall, it's going to be at least 3 years.
Yeah. And I think it's something that we should shoot for, looking at the technology that we have. I say we do a dry run for our next meeting, where all of us are virtual. We can come here. All of us can come here, or if you want to stay home, or whoever wants to stay home can stay home. But we try it at least. Maybe we'll have a light agenda.
This is a question for Mr. Champs. I think that we could probably only have two people in this room without having interference.
Oh,
but
really?
We could use your office, another office.
Or I could just be in my car or home.
Or you could be at your home.
Yeah.
So, my question would be, Mr. Mayor, the 4 people that are here with us today, and they're always with us, do you guys feel in any danger of your lives or of COVID? Do you think that we're too close to each other, or that it's possible to get, I know you've had it, and you probably don't even know where you got it, I don't know. But the thing is, do you feel safe being around us?
Well, we're all distanced. We're all at least 6 feet apart, and we're not in close contact. I do know where I got it. I got it from my wife because she got it sick first. So.
Well, that's what the governor's asking. We all do, 6 feet apart. So I don't have any problems with that.
No.
And the thing is, and look at this. We had employees that got the COVID. They were quarantined for 15 days. They're back in the jobs. They're back on the job. If you feel sick and you think you got the COVID, stay home. Or take some time off. I think that, a councilman can take some time off and, get away and come back.
You can be on the phone. We've had call-ins before. If you're sick and if you have the COVID, call in and just follow through with us. I've had meetings like those in other boards where people are in Albuquerque and they call in, or in Santa Fe, or 3 of us are over here, and they call in and we get the meeting.
So if we move to virtual, there's only 2 people that can be here.
In this room.
Yep. So maybe that would be me and maybe Cassandra. Mr. DeChamps?
We can always test using the mic system if you guys don't mind having headphones. Because the biggest problem that you always have in any video conferencing is audio.
Right.
That's what you have is where you can tell when you open that door, we hear that horrible feedback. And that's what we want to get away from. So possibly if everybody has a headphone, I don't know how many of you want to wear a headphone. That could help fix the problem and have more people in here.
That's a solution. We could wear headphones.
Headset, yeah, have a headset on, and that might take care of the audio, so it's not bouncing around to everybody's mic.
Got you.
And then another thing, Mr. Mayor, how long are we going to do it? No, say there's a vaccine coming in. It'll take 3, 4, 5 months to get it in. We're all gonna get vaccinated, I'm pretty sure.
No, I don't think
So
so.
we're gonna be virtual from here to the end, another year?
No, I think you have a good point. I think as long as this is going on and there's a pandemic and, you know, once we're free from it, whether it be in July or August or September, we can go back to our regular meetings where everybody's welcome to attend. Mr. Taylor?
I have a question for Mr. Duchamp, because he used to help me all the time at Highlands, and I would teach a class, and there would be 6 people in the room, and there'd be 15 people online. Is that something, and what will we need to be able to do that here?
At that time, we were using video conference, audio conference equipment that was actually set up for Zoom. And mics were set up at each table so we could pick them up. Well, like I said, always, the problem is audio. Audio is always the problem that you have. Video is usually easy to fix. Video is, because you see it. But audio is the one that bounces around and causes feedback and stuff like that, so.
Is it possible to have our next meeting using the headphones in here? And then, of course, you have the option of we could try a virtual meeting.
I think we'd have to do a test run. It doesn't have to be with you guys.
Okay.
It'd have to be with about as many of you, you know, just different people in here.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be exactly you.
Right.
But we just need to test it, see how it works.
Okay. Do you want to test it and then get back to us?
Yes, I'll meet with Kenny on that and we'll test it.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, that would still allow some people who wanted to be at home, they could
Sure.
use their headphones at home if they wanted.
Sure. So I think we should move forward, but I personally like gathering here. I think it's important. Again, if I'm exposed or if I have a known exposure or if I'm sick, I'm not coming here. I have the option of staying home. Or if I have to limit my exposure for any reason, which we all do, and I decide I want to stay home, I could do it from there or from my phone. So.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to make a comment. I mean, and the governor made this made this exact comment. When we met with her and you invited her to come over and she said she couldn't because with the orders in place, she has to set an example. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I feel here too, is that how can we tell everybody, stay home, only come out if it's necessary, and then we're saying, okay, well, we're going to stay together. I mean, I'm just saying, let's be cautious to set an example. If we decide to come here, I mean, that's, you know, just like anybody else. If they decide to go to the store, that's on them. But we're making ourselves, we're setting the example that from here on out, that if individuals want to come here, or if one of us, you know, that normally are here, which is it's everybody here in the room, or Danielle, you know, if, you know, for whatever reason they've come up in contact with somebody, there's that tier system that Mr. Gutierrez said yesterday. You know, there's those tiers, you know, how much time you had exposure. The best thing is, you know, if we've come across that, we stay home and we don't put anybody else in jeopardy. I mean, the safest way, we're setting an example, and that's just my last 2 comments. And
Thank you.
Leave it at that.
Mr. DeChamps, if you could test the system with headphones, and then we also have consideration for Ms. Fresquez, because she has to upload all the documents. We have to have, you know, there's a lot on her plate too, so we need to be considerate of Ms. Fresquez as well. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, Councilors, so I need some direction because I need to advertise as well.
Right.
So I need to put that, if we're going to do it virtually. So should I wait for Eddie to go ahead and test that, let me know if it's going to work, and then we move forward with virtual, or what is the consensus of this?
This is what I would do. I say we finish the year, or it's our last meeting, like this. Eddie continues to test and makes the recommendation whether we want to go in January. What does everybody think?
Mr. Mayor, I say,
That sounds reasonable. Reasonable.
I say you put this out to a vote, and then you can give those comments if you wish, and give that direction.
What would the question of the vote be?
Well, it depends on what the vote is. because I oppose it. I oppose having virtual meetings. And that's where I stand.
Okay.
So it's an item on the agenda, and it should be called for the question, and I think we ought to vote on it and then go
Are
from
you,
there.
are you closed to the option of being able to have a virtual meeting?
At this point, yes.
You closed?
Yes.
So if you were sick and you're at home, you would want to participate?
Well, yes, I would want to participate, or anybody of us, but I'm not in favor of having it virtual for us in here or having it at home like all the time. I'm pretty standard on what we're doing right now, and I think it's working, and as long as we're all responsible for what we're doing and what we're at, I mean, I know you guys are all being responsible for where you're at and your families, you know, so I don't see a problem. If I had a problem with any of you and didn't trust that you're doing the right things, then maybe I would go into that.
Okay.
But I have no
I'll call for a
doubt.
vote whether we want to go virtual or we do not.
I have no doubt
Whether
on
we
you
want to
guys.
go virtual or be in person. So, do we just hold a vote? Or do you want a
There's a
motion?
motion.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
I make a motion to give direction to staff to go virtual, whether we as individuals decide to come here physically. But of course, accommodations have to be made to where we could hold it virtual with no problems. So with that, I make the motion to have the option of virtual.
A second.
Second by Dr. Rodriguez. Roll call, please.
Counselor Lee Jr.,
No,
Counselor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Counselor Montoya,
no,
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Rodriguez. We have a tie.
The tie is yes.
So motion carries to go virtual.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, Mayor, are we talking about going virtual on the next week's meeting? or
No.
After next week?
Yes. I think the direction was that we test, Mr. DeChamps and his department can test, and then maybe in January have our first meeting that would consist of virtual, in-person, in here. If the mics work, if the headphones work, we can all come here.
And just basically, we're eliminating that system and going to virtual.
Yeah. Mr. DeChamps?
We may have to bring it back, so,
Okay.
not cheap. That was something, we have something we have to get on right away.
And we can bring our own, right? Okay. Thank you. Next order of business?
Last item on the agenda is a resolution number 20-72, prohibiting any person, business, or entity from selling or serving any beverage containing alcohol between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 p.m. during a period of time in which the proclamation of civil emergency extending curfew is in effect.
Mr. Aaron?
I think we have Scott who's going to present that.
So at the request of the mayor, what we did is we put together a resolution which would allow there to be no alcohol served during the time that we have a curfew in effect. When the curfew goes away, this resolution would no longer be operative. But we've been getting different complaints and concerns regarding the sale of alcohol outside of the curfew hours. And so my understanding is that when those persons or entities were confronted, they said, well, wait a minute, the gas station is open, they can go get the little mini alcohols there. So rather than dealing with the back and the forth with this argument and this concern, what we've done is just set it up here to where there's not any selling or serving of alcohol but between the hours of the curfews in effect. We don't want people out during those prohibited curfew hours, and that would include to buy or sell or serve or drink or anything to do with alcohol. So at the request of the mayor, we put this together and it's before you.
Thank you, Mr. Aaron. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
On this item, I know where you come from, and we've had this discussion that, the curfew, of course, totally depends on enforcement. And we know we've had issues, on that happening. We have concerns. And I understand where we came from, because I did have this discussion with you that, one of the, we tried to figure out, what are the reasons that some of these people are leaving, and we did come to a conclusion that it was the alcohol. And of course, now if you eliminate one of those reasons for the, they shouldn't be, unless it was an emergency or they're going work, they shouldn't be going to the stores to get alcohol. And of course, the stores aren't gonna, those that are open, those convenience stores that are, they have till midnight, which they're not losing out. But it's another way to eliminate people from coming out. Yes, there's concerns that I hear comments that, well, for what? If there's a curfew in place, people shouldn't do it. But we know they're doing it. And of course, it goes back to enforcement. So by the number of police officers we have in the community, we know they can't be at all convenience stores or, making sure that when they go for it, it's for necessities or whatever it is. We know for sure that we don't want them to go for alcohol. And with that, I agree, with the curfew, because we're eliminating that. It just, again, my concern is, again, the enforcement of the curfew. Those are my comments.
Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Montoya?
I'll comment on this.
Sure.
I think that we're trying to pinpoint to businesses and dictating to businesses when they should be open and closed. And on this situation, I think there's only, I'm going to say, 3 businesses in town that probably it pertains to, and 2 of them that I know of, or 4 of them, and 2 of them I know they close at 8 o'clock or so. The other ones are open, and I don't know if that's their only source of income or livelihood or whatever. But I think this item on this agenda calls for you to use your executive powers as a civil emergency, the same way that you use them for the curfew and the masks. I think the charter allows this on your authority if you wish to do this. I think that as it is, people are barely getting educated on this coronavirus, and it's going to be with us for a long time. They're trying the vaccine in other countries, and they're getting side effects. It's not quite working the way they expected it to work. So this opening and closing of businesses, whether it's the governor's office or our county being on the yellow, I mean, to me, it's an up and down ride. And I mean, I think the first time around, the governor should have kept all New Mexico shut down for a longer period of time. Once she opened it up, whether it's political pressure or business pressure or economic pressure, whatever the pressure might be, once those businesses opened up and everything was acting like normal, what happened is that numbers started going up, and I feel that that's the same thing that's going to happen to us in this county and in Mora, as well as in Pecos. There's still not enough testing in rural areas, and so we don't have the right figures. But I'll tell you, I think we had something like, I don't know, 1,200 new cases just today, and 33 deaths. like I mentioned earlier, 25 beds available. They're going to be picking and choosing who they take care of and emergency needs. And I don't think as it is right now, the curfew or the mask is really being enforced. I haven't seen any penalties assessed. So I think you ought to use your executive powers on this, Mr. Mayor. That's
Thank
my
you, Mr.
point of view.
Montoya.
Yeah.
Anybody else? So if I decide to do it as an executive order or to add it to the current order, Mr. Aaron, would that be okay without a vote? Or because it's on the agenda, we would have to vote? Or would we table it, or how?
Well, the preference here is rather than you doing it, Mayor, just by your own executive power, which I think you can already do because it falls under that curfew. This is basically just a further definition and a refining of what the curfew already states. And the goal here was to, rather than just you signing these things and putting them out there through public service announcements, is have an opportunity to come before the council, have some discussion on it, and then have the council as a whole, with you as the governing, including you as the governing body, say, yeah, we're in support of this, or you're not in support of this, and that's fine. But that was the goal, was to make it something that was inclusive of everybody, give the opportunity for comment, give the opportunity for discussion, rather than you just signing these orders and pushing them out.
And I do want to talk about enforcement. Mr. Montoya is absolutely right. If we were enforcing this, then the point would be moot, because people would be leaving their houses to go to buy beer at 10:30. If we are enforcing the curfew, period. If the curfew was being enforced very strictly, then the people wouldn't be leaving their house to go buy beer, whether who's open or closed or whatever. So then it becomes a point of enforcement. Am I correct?
Yes.
You agree? So maybe there should be, maybe I should talk about tougher enforcement of the curfew. Correct? Mr. Montoya?
Well, that's not the item on the agenda, but I think that we need to act on this item specifically, and then you can do whatever you need to do. But we have an item before us, and I think we need to act on it.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, I've been in contact with Victor from the governor's office. When I had discussions with Howie Morales, the lieutenant governor, they are praising, I'm saying the state is praising some of the efforts that have been made, and I know all of us have supported the mayor in what he's done with the masks. Of course, the masks, the curfew, are they 100% effective? No, but they're 75% effective, and that, along with people doing their part, for the most part, we still have those that are gonna ignore it, or I see it on social media, I'm not gonna say the four-letter word, but the curfew and things of that nature. And if we continue, like I made this comment, if we continue with just being happy with wearing masks and just the social distancing, this community will never go back to, we'll have a hard time staying in yellow to begin with, because we're already doing that, as we see the numbers from Thanksgiving coming in. But more effectively, we want to go to green. There's a lot of eyes on our community, not only here, locally, but at the state level and further than that, because the science is telling us some of these things that we're doing are working. And we need to, we can't continue to show some type of, we want to do this, but we don't support this. Either we're all in it together and we're going to approve measures that are going to be effective in protecting our community. We're not going to make everybody happy on some of these decisions, and I probably assume the mayor put this on the agenda because I had conversations with him as far as saying, Mayor, we support you with the mask, we support you with these items that you're doing, but it's more than just you, Mayor. And that's probably why he put this item on the agenda. Of course, you know, it's to enforcement and, you know, hopefully we have those discussions because we need to work on that. But I see where you're at and we need to continue to be a step ahead, because if we just do what Santa Fe is doing and what Albuquerque is doing, and that's just social distance and do this, we're going to stay where we're at and our business is going to hurt. Come next Wednesday, because we're at 1 week, so next Wednesday, we'll probably go back to red, and what are the community going to say is, what are you guys doing? Some of these efforts are eventually the goal. How do you, I mean, you can't shut down, you know, some of the businesses that are open after 10 because they're essential and they're of that nature. So people are going to go to them, but you combat ways to try to eliminate, because we can't have police, we only have so many police officers at night, so they can't be everywhere. So this measure I do understand, but of course we need to make sure that at least the officers are doing, I mean, if they see the same car cruising around town, you know, they need to address, you know, some of those, if they're after 10 o'clock and they see the car 3-4 times after 10 o'clock, and make those efforts. And of course, it all goes back to data, as you know, the Chief Crespin, Chief Billy Montoya, and the city staff now, you know, they've got that paperwork, so they'll be presenting data. It's not just going to be stops. They're going to be able to say this is how many citations or warnings were issued, and we'll be getting that data. So all this is just efforts to do this. And with that, Mayor, I'll leave it at that. And if you want to,
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 20-72.
There's a motion on the floor. I'll entertain a second.
A second.
Second by Dr. Rodriguez. Roll call, please.
Counselor Olivari Jr.,
Nope.
Counselor Romero,
Yes.
Counselor Montoya,
Nope.
Counselor Rodriguez.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Rodriguez. Mayor, we have a tie.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And I will work on the enforcement part of the curfew, Mr.
You
Montoya.
know, Mr. Mayor,
Yes?
just to throw this comment out there, I think you would have been more proactive to go to those two businesses and have a sit-down meeting with them and plead with them to shut down their business instead of forcing them in this manner, especially when those other emergencies haven't been, you know, penalized or they haven't been enforced.
I'll work on the
It
enforcement.
should have been more of a first step approach, I think. Yeah, but, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Montoya.
I'd like to make a comment to that also.
Sure.
I know some of you weren't attending the meeting yesterday with the businesses, but they were very supportive of, you know, the curfew, and they are really concerned also in regards to, you know, abiding by the state, and they seemed very supportive, and a lot of businesses were at that meeting last night.
Thank you. Thank you. Next order of business.
Is there a need for executive session, Mr.
Council?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to enter executive session for personnel matters as permitted by Section 10-15-1H2 of the Open Meetings Act. Get that right?
Yes. There's a motion on the floor. Second.
A second.
Second by Dr. Rodriguez. Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya,
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Jr.,
Yes.
Counselor Romero,
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Rodriguez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
motion.
Second.
And I'd like to know for the record that only those matters specified in the motion for closure were discussed, no action was taken.
Motion? Second by Mr. Montoya. Roll call, please.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Olivares Junior?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Motion to adjourn?
Mr. Mayor, do we have another
Yes.
meeting before Christmas?
Well, that's what we were just going to talk about.
Yes,
Next
When
week.
is that?
on the 16th.
On the 16th. Mr. Mayor, maybe, are you canceling or are we canceling the lake parade, or do we have to cancel it?
Well, it already happened, it was last weekend.
Oh,
But we're doing the lighting,
okay.
the Christmas
I
tree
just wasn't
parades.
sure, because people were asking, well,
Yeah.
is there gonna be a lake parade? And this and that.
No,
Well, I knew there wasn't gonna be one, but
yeah.
I didn't know if we had canceled it or not, or what.
5:30 on Friday, we're doing the light.
Yes.
Free.
Okay. Motion to adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Montoya,
Okay.
second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Cassandra. Thank you, Ed.
People were asking,
Yeah.
well, is there gonna be a lake parade? And this and that.
No.